Good morning. Good morning. It's business as usual, folks. Thanks for tuning in. It is Monday morning, 6:37, August 17th. Hope everyone's doing fine, having a good time. I'll start with personal details from this past weekend. My wife and I had our 5th anniversary for our marriage. So that's fun. We made it 5 years. Nice. Many folks do not make it 5 years. In fact, that's a good random Claude search. Let me see. I do nuance. How many people make it to 5 years in marriage? Can I spell? Yeah, so 5 years of marriage. It's felt like a very long 5 years at times. You know, the notion... Many people have this notion that time flies by, and I've never really agreed with that. I don't know if it's because I do such a detailed job with my schedule that, like, whenever it gets through a week, I'm like, yeah, well, it's been a week, and I'm like pretty aware of what's happened. But yeah, I don't know. I just feel like we've done a lot in these 5 years, and we've known each other for 6.5 years, all the way back to a Hinge dating app first date, the weekend prior to COVID shutting down the world. But it was a 4.5-hour date where we closed down 2 restaurants, bars that night, lasting until 1:30 at night. And it was too good to just not try to pursue or continue in spite of the craziness of COVID. Okay, we have our marriage. Let me see. They hit the 5-year mark in marriage pretty comfortably. Okay. National Survey of Family Growth. Vast majority of first marriages survived to year 5. Oh, okay. Nice. It drops off at the 20th year mark. So 50% don't make it to 20 years. The likelihood a first marriage lasts to 10 years is 68 to 70%. Okay. So yeah, all right. Well, hey, most of us that have gotten married the first time, we're still here. So good job. Good job not being one of the few that didn't make it. But yeah, we decided, the more and more you might get to know me, the more and more that you'll find that I try and look for the unique, interesting, out of the blue thing to do. So we went to a yurt. So there are these yurts over in Arkansas. I can show them here. Specifically in Chester, Arkansas, where basically it's like high-end tents, so to say. Yurts were used back a long time ago, even older than, Genghis Khan Mongolian times. But some guy, I don't know, you could pull it up here, in the 60s, really tried to be an innovator and make it a popular thing to have yurts. This arm is being problematic today. Tighten this up a little bit. Okay. Sorry. Hi. That's where we went. So Thursday afternoon, we traveled out there. No kiddos, of course. Anniversary. Spend time without the kids. They were over at Nana's and Grandpa's. Did a fine job over with them. We basically were just crazy lazy. They had a hot tub on the deck of the yurt. And because it's so secluded and quiet, you had to drive off the beaten path up kind of a hill, mountain thing. We got to see super bright stars from our yurt, so that was pretty awesome. It's rare you get to see stuff like that all the time. And yeah, I don't know. In the morning, I slept until 10, which is so rare that I ever get to sleep in at all. Woke up to Danielle making breakfast for me, which never happens. It's usually I'm the one making breakfast, so that was cool. But we watched over the course of this whole weekend, we watched 4 movies or something, 3.5. It was amazing to me, a little startling actually how nice it was. Because, we got married August 14th, 2021. And 3 months into marriage, we find out we're going to have a kid. We're going to have Levi. And that was certainly a shock. We were not anticipating or planning on trying to have kids sooner than later. In fact, we really would have preferred to hold off a couple years or so. But you know what? I can't not be thankful about Levi, our oldest, being here. Our oldest son, who's 4 years old now. But man, just being by ourselves and not really having like an agenda or like a to-do list of all this like spare time that we have, to ourselves, and then just to watch movies or do a bunch of nothing and not feel like we have to chase around small children or make sure they're not hurting themselves or doing weird things, breaking things. It's just like we just had this time by ourselves, and we think of these couples. We know quite a few couples that are dinks, double income, no kids. And we're like, wow, these people do this every weekend. Or at least they can. They could just like hang out every weekend. What? It was nice, but again, like a little too nice. Like it started me down a rabbit trail of honestly thoughts of like, man, what if like, almost like I'm envious a little bit of couples that, don't have kids and can just like enjoy each other, because I don't know why this trip was so startling. I know Danielle, she's felt it a lot more, in the past years, but this trip for me was the first time in like years where I could just cut off for an extended period, where we weren't worrying about the kids, anything like that. There wasn't any stress about how they were doing that was affecting the trip. It was just literally like, what if we somehow didn't have kids magically? Which, magic's not the right word because it's magical having children. Their smiles and giggles are just so contagious, even if you're so annoyed and mad at them. They start laughing and smiling, and you're just like, oh, I want to be so mad at you. But yeah, we had our 5th anniversary, and that was certainly nice. What was not nice is last night. Last night last afternoon, it's just hot everywhere, and our heater finally like tripped on the electric. Suddenly find the house being like 79 degrees. And I'm like, oh gosh, there's no cool air running anywhere in this house. So called an AC company. This is from one of my referral groups that they're in. Their team shows up at like 7:15 or something. Like very nice response time when we called them probably at 5 or a little before 5. So that's a win from a local AC company that is not bought out by, private equity funds, which you can put up a headline about that. For those that you don't know, so many of the trades in every city, everywhere in the United States is being bought out by private equity businesses. And it's funny, I was talking with the gal who's a service tech. How unique is that? The gal who was a service tech, younger gal, probably a little younger than me, maybe my age, I don't know. Certainly not like young 20s. But anyways, talking with her, and she was talking about private equity businesses like buying out places and thinking that the industry is going to go, in the tanks, in the tubes in the years to come. And I'm like, well, I don't know. Everybody's going to need heat and air work because it's only going to get hotter, whether we like it or not. Business as usual. People are noticing trends about the world getting hotter, and, nobody can agree on what they're supposed to do. A great movie to really demonstrate this humorously and kind of in a weird way where it just ends with the world experiencing an apocalypse is Don't Look Up. I recommend it, and it really captures this, like, nobody agrees on anything. Therefore, at the end of the day, we're just, we're all just going to live and do whatever we want until we can't anymore. I did not recharge this battery on the camera, so we'll see how long this lives. But anyways, was talking with her and kind of encouraging her that, hey, if you're a younger gal in the trades, specifically a gal, and you have all these private equity companies, which the big theme, business as usual, is they come in, buy up places, make them as profitable as possible, which inherently means that they will screw over customers on their pricing, and then they just flip them. And then they probably fire people that, are dead weights or too expensive for the business that have been there for so long and committed for a long time. In that world, cities are going to need local heating air companies to be noble and, responsible companies that people can work with. So as long as they just survive and make it while making some money, they will plow through the private equity booms. But anywho, that was kind of the big update for me, 5th anniversary for this weekend. I don't know, just other fun facts from this past week to highlight. I'm down by like 3% in body fat percentage. Fitness was kind of like I didn't really know what I wanted to do this year for my fitness, but I talked about that in the first episode. But since beginning of April until like early August, I've lost 3 percentage points for body fat. I was a little over 20%, and now I'm a little over 17. So that's fun. I think it seems to me that it's just in the InBody app. It's just a redistribution of, gaining more muscle because I'm not losing any weight. So we'll see how that continues to potentially be chipped away. I got to make it out to the gym and be real regular with that. And, today I'm going to be using some Claude summaries, but I don't know. As a business owner, or really just anyone professionally, if you are not utilizing some kind of AI every day, if something's wrong, like you are not taking advantage of this, or something's really right because you're rebelling and continuing to be creative in your own way in a world when there's just so much AI slop and carelessness. So if you decide to just totally rebel, I totally get it, But if you are not in that doomsday attitude about AI and taking over the planet and society, or that we're inventing God or something. But yes, I use Claude like every single day for business and even like life stuff. Every time planning this podcast, I will filter in details, ask questions and stuff. I've got it summarizing some articles for me about kind of a big topic I want to talk about. And yeah, for work, I mean, what did I do this past week? This past week, I presented a whole 9-year future plan for one of my employees for where this business could go with her position. And she was so thankful for that. She said it was the first time that anyone's really listened to her concerns about where she wants to go with the future in her work. Everywhere else has apparently just said, hey, wait, something good's going to come, and give super vague answers. And then ultimately she finds, oh, no, we're actually going to make cuts. It's just so business as usual, folks. It's so BS. So I'm glad to be one of those places where I'm actually delivering some future for her. With a giant caveat that I was extremely skeptical, not extremely skeptical. I would say the best way to put it is I was carefully skeptical, cautiously optimistic is another way to put it, about how the future could go. And I basically said, hey, you got to help me make sure this happens. Because I already in order to get this answer to her, I had to put together projections for 2027 financially. And it's not even fall. So anyways, let me get into this big topic. But first, let me take a time out. Hey, Lord, thank you so much for this time. God, I have made it 4 weeks in a row with this thing. Holy cow. God, I pray that you would continue to be patient with me, continue to show me mercy. May I learn more and more to be dedicated to you. And God, may this podcast and these topics and this time that I am speaking into the ether with all these other podcast schmucks out there, that someone would find this valuable and helpful to them, and maybe even entertaining. But hey, God, let's have a great day. In spite of my lack of sleep, because my AC, the house was still 80 degrees inside when it was midnight trying to sleep. So, and a lot of people have had it a lot worse. People in Europe where people are dying. But anyways, I'm going off the rails with my prayer, Lord. Thank you so much for today. Let's have a good day. In Jesus' name. All right. Like I said, I was out for anniversary, and I mentioned being skeptical about things with this business, and whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, I have thoroughly grown some skepticism here, and this battery is, I think it's going to die soon. Well, what do I want to do about this? Maybe I just, I wanted to record some other stuff today. So maybe I just, maybe I do this later. Let me do this first part now, and then I can record the next part later. And I can't set up like this with people around. Well, all right. So you hear my dilemma. I see flashing red on my camera that the battery's dying. So I'm just going to chalk this up to a good learning time for me in this podcast, that I have to have all these steps about what needs to happen before the podcast gets out, so that I can thoroughly have an hour or more to talk through stuff. Guys, I don't know. I just don't want to get into the middle of something and then it just cuts off. So thanks for listening to my short edition of this podcast, because I forgot to charge battery. But this week's going to be a good week. I have many networking things, actually. So hopefully it should turn into good things. Handful of client meetings, multiple meetings a day. I got a deep dive sales meeting today. And taking Levi to soccer this Tuesday, so that should be fun. That starts for the next couple months or more, so that'll be fun to take him there. And he also starts preschool this Thursday. So the wife Danielle is all sorts of pent up about how that's going to go, but it's going to be okay. He's going to do great. But anyways, thanks so much for hanging out. I'm going to go and try and crank away a really full day of work, and full day for this full week of work and time and effort. And hey, don't waste your week. Have a good one.